Hi everyone. Good day. I My name is David. I'm taking the training today for service delivery excellence. Please, if you can hear me, kindly confirm. Just type I can hear you. So I'll be certain that the audio is perfectly working well on your end as well. Please, in the comment section, you can just let me know if you can hear me very well, so I can proceed with the conversation for today. Okay, thank you so much. I think I begin to hear get that. All right. Okay. So this is more like a refresher class for those who missed out on the training that was done. It was practically done on Monday. So for us to give everyone a benefit of doubt, we're sure that okay, we're going to retake the classes again to ensure every single person participates and they're able to take the assessments that was shared in the group. Of course, the other platforms that we have tried using have had some issues and were unable to one, the issues are that people who missed the class were unable to retake them. Then people who wanted to do the assessment or for them to be able to retake the classes was an issue. So the option opted to use the YouTube platform. That's why we're here, and that's why we're taking the classes again. So please ensure that you have your pen and your paper to take down the notes that are important. Remember, at the end of the day, from the updates that we're given, then there's the assessment will come in handy, and all of them is just to test the knowledge that was gained all through the learning exercise. Okay, so with that said, we just have barely an hour to ensure that all the content of the training is delivered. So let me just go into it right away. So today we're going to be considering service delivery excellence, and that's what doing right away. Okay, so and in this class, okay, my so in this particular session, we're going to consider details about service delivery itself and how they impact businesses and organizations. So among the content of what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be focusing on the customer, um, customer, customer service and satisfaction, customer expectation, service delivery, then service delivery excellence. Where I said earlier that this is more like a refresher one for those who actually missed out or those who haven't taken the learning, who haven't taken the want to take the class, they can now take the knowledge assess class again. Okay, so now that said, please let's just move straight because there's a whole lot to talk about. Let's just move straight to the part one of the training that talks about the customer. Remember, I said the five key things that are going to be five key aspects of this training that we're going to be talking about is the customer, customer service and satisfaction, customer expectation, service delivery, and service delivery excellence. I'll take that again. So if you're taking notes, the key areas that are going to be discussing is the customer, two, customer service and satisfaction, three, we're going to be talking about customer expectation, then four, we're going to be talking about service delivery, and finally, we're going to be talking about service delivery excellence, right? These are the key contents that we're going to be taking today. The customers, customer service and satisfaction, customer expectation, three, then fourth is service delivery, then the final on the list is service delivery excellence. So please let's start with the customer. Like under the customer, of course, we're just going to consider about the customer and how we can engage with the customer. So now, who exactly is the customer? Or as a representative, we need to understand, have a perfect ideology or the right mindset of who the customer is for every of the product or the service for any of the organizations that we're posted to work with. Okay, so now the customer is anyone who sees value in the service or the product that the organization offers and they are willing to pay for it. So now, if someone sees value, anyone who sees value in the service or the product and pays for it is the customer. Once they are willing to pay for the product and they pay for it, actually they're customers of the organization. So practically that's anyone who sees value in the service and the product of the organization and they're willing to make payments for it, they're just the customers. And by this now, if we need to talk about the importance of customers, customers themselves are potential market influencers. They influence they're able to influence the decision of others, not just themselves, but others within their circle of influence. A practical example on that is, if as a customer, if me as a customer, I walk into um, let's say I walk into an eatery and I used the services that I use their services, and at the end of the day, I feel satisfied about the level of customer experience that is being delivered there. Then I will go ahead and tell my friends. So have you visited this particular this latest tree in town? You should try it out. Like, that's me advocating for them. That's me influencing my circle of my circle of contacts, my friends, my family, my close associates, and telling them about places like that. For instance, if I meet with a new associate and they ask me, "Oh, where do you take your lunch? What do you which of the places will you describe as the best place in town that I could go visit?" I'll just recommend them, right? So that makes me an influencer. I influence sales for those people. That's what the potential customer can do. So if I have a bad experience, that's vice versa. That's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to discourage every other person because I'm going to tell them about my own experience, and they being afraid not to experience what I have had also experienced, they will definitely not want to go to those places. So that's how the customer can sway the opinion of other people towards patronizing the product or its service. Then also talk about the customers themselves. Their patronage to the organization actually provides the salary that we earn. At the end of the month, we have something to take home. We have something to take home because customers patronize. If there were no customers in the first instance for the product or the service that we provide, then there's no salary for anyone, right? So the very essence why I, as a service representative, is in the organization is because there are customers to attend to, right? So it means I should be able to value the customer, no matter how troublesome they are, no matter how the baggages that they come with, right? So in fact, the troubles that they bring are actually good ones because they pay for us to resolve all those issues and to resolve the troubles or the challenges that they face. So that's exactly what we're talking about here. So now I will go out to talk about. I've already made mention of customers that customers are free marketing tools and customers are also referrals. They also provide basic feedback for improvement. Now, that's what one of the major things I also want you to take note of. Customers provide feedback for improvement and innovation. Now, if as a customer, for instance, I independently outside of the I had to conduct research for the organization, so I reached out to another organization, and I found out that uh, they had no there was something about their contacts points where people who required information could reach out to. So I made some recommendations to the executive that I was in contact with yesterday, and I said, what if you do it this way? What if you set up a direct contact point where people can reach out and get information, right? So that was the feedback that I was giving, right? Even though that I was just new to the organization, I just noticed that and I was saying that this is not so good because if everybody have to call this particular line and it's of course, you who is currently attending to this, you're overly busy already, so you will not be able to attend or reply to all the messages. So that's a shortfall for the organization. So and that suggestion or that opinion was welcome because why? At the moment, the level of service that they are providing is inefficient or not so efficient. I would say that not so efficient. So if they adhere to the advice, then definitely they'll have a designated um, you have a designated line to customer service as long as based for that particular product or service because it is necessary. Of course, not that may not apply to all the organization, right? So now what I'm just making reference to now is I observed something and I gave a feedback that produced um, a thinking or a direction for innovation, a direction for improvement. That's what it is. That's what customers do. And in fact, I did not charge. But if they had to hire a consultant, they will have to pay for that service, right? That's what customers do by giving feedback because we already believe in the brand. We want it to succeed, and that's that. Okay, so now let me not spend so much time on that. Let's go ahead to talk about how do we, as representatives of the organization. Now, how are you going to be reporting with customers? How are you going to engage customers in line with your duty and in line with standards? Okay, so now These are some basic things that we could pay attention to when it comes to having a rapport, having an engagement with customers. Of course, in pronouncing a customer's name or in attending to a customer, sometimes we have there's tendency for us to address them by their name. Remember that this part of the world where respect is very, very much where not just respect, I mean culture plays a whole lot of role in perception and in reception as well. So we need to be very much careful and cautious with addressing people. So now, when addressing a customer, of course, if they advance, we definitely addressing them by their name or by their first name will definitely seem somewhat disrespectful. So we might call address them by their surname, Mr. XYZ or Mrs. This, right? Address them by their surname, Mrs. This or Mr. XYZ. So if their surname is Brown, so say Mr. Brown or Mrs. Brown, right? So not particularly their first name. Okay, so that said, then we'll go ahead. When you are to introduce, when you're to engage with the customer, always ensure that you're going to introduce yourself. Who are you? So you let them understand who they are discussing with. More importantly, if that's not pronounced, okay, I am this, right? I am the customer service representative for the organization. So this is exactly what I'm to do for you, right? So you're like introducing yourself to that particular customer. Now, remember that this particular this line that we're considering is not like a one size fits all. Now, this particularly in a situation where for instance, there are no name tags or you have to the introduction is done consistently, not like it's normal service desk. This is you reaching out to customers or customers reaching out to you for the first time, right? So they don't know who you are. You are introducing yourself. Now, of course, when you have to interact with them, you have to be genuine, you have to be authentic, and also ask for customers' welfare. Now, this is more like you're having a really trying to build a business relationship with the customer so that they get to relax and provide the basic details that you require to serve that particular customer right. Then active listening when you're discussing or having a conversation. Once you engage with the customer, ensure that you're listening actively, you're responding to questions. When you ask questions, you're listening. When they're asking questions, you're also listening. Then when they ask questions, you're responding adequately. And you're not just following a particular line of script like we'll get back to you. So all those should not be done. Be much more empathetic. Just put yourself in their shoes and deal particularly well with such customer. Then, of course, when it comes to a very angry customer, always allow them as long as they are dissatisfied and they are bent on expressing their feelings or their emotions with regards to whatever service or service failure that they have experienced, allow them vent freely, do not interrupt them, allow them just vent so that you can practically understand what the problem is and how to resolve such issue. Okay, then always remember to mirror the customer's behavior and show empathy where required. Then at the end of the day, when you're solving an issue, when you want to solve an issue for the customer, ensure that you are able to you reconfirm what the issue is. So now you've listened practically well before you go ahead to begin to offer solutions. You want to reconfirm that you heard right and that you understood right what the complaints are actually. Okay, that said, um, in a summary, so the engagement rules remain what? Active listening, polite questioning, paying attention to non-verbal cues, and confirming requests before processing. Of course, when we are attending to them, we have to, when we talk about active listening, we are responding to questions, we are answering questions. So it's more like a two-way thing. Remember, we talked about all this recently. So that said, now, when it, for every customer who walks into the organization, there are basic things that they want you to do for them, which is they want you to listen to them, they want you to understand them, they want you to question them politely. So I'm going to take that again. So they want you to listen to them, they want you to understand them, they want you to question them politely, they want you to know their needs. Of course, they want you to know their needs. That's why they're there so that you can provide a solution. Then they want you to also treat their request with respect, such that it's not that they walk away and just drop their request. So you tell them that the request to be treated within 24 hours, and after 48 hours or after 72 hours, it's still yet unattended to, or it's just dropped somewhere else, anywhere. Now, Still on treating customers' requests with respect. Now, I want to buttress or shed more light with that. Now, treating customers' requests with respect. Take, for instance, customers how to fill forms and to in order to resolve a particular issue. That form that they fill contains the critical information, right? As a customer service representative, you are dealing with key customer data, and you have to be very much careful with managing data. Of course, these are some of the trainings also that will come in handy from time to time. So you have to be very much careful with treating data. So it means if even after if for the documents that are not going to be filed, that are going to be discarded, they have to be properly shredded, right? So that's treating that particular customer documentation or the documentation of their request with respect. So it's not something that just be dropped into the trash can, and by the time it is disposed, the information is flying everywhere, right? Of course, there's a shredder. Always use a shredder to shred every single detail that of records that needs to be discarded. Then we'll go ahead to talk about answering and resolving reported complaints. So if there are reported complaints, always ensure that those complaints are practically resolved within an allotted time or within a resolution time. Now, if there's a practical resolution time or it's not like a standard resolution time by the organization, take for instance within 24 hours, let it be within 24 hours. Let it not exceed 24 hours. We let 24 hours be 24 hours. Anything outside of 24 hours, it means that we have to reach out to the customer to renegotiate the resolution time again. Of course, giving them a heads up about what has been done and what is remaining, right? The remaining things that needs to be resolved. So at least they know that these are the progress that has been made, and we can go ahead to sort the remaining. Okay, then finally on the list. So of course we're going to help them, assist them through the issue resolution pathway. So now, if it's like a self-service that are things that needs to be resolved, it means that we're going to have to guide the customer. So in a place where we have to guide them, then we guide them. But of course, there are some things that do not require or some level of guidance that needs to be provided. So where the rules based for which of the options that we find ourselves, based on the rules, we ensure that we follow the due process, that issue resolution pathway that have been assigned to us. Okay, so continuing with what the customers want, of course, generally customers want want you to be authentic, and they want you to keep the promise. They want you to remain consistent with the standard of service and delivery that has been set by the organization. Then also on the list, if you say something, they want the customers want to be able to hold you by your word. So you're not saying in 2 hours and you're coming back in 6 hours, it's still not done. So if it is 6 hours, it's better that you say 6 hours. It's better you under promise and over deliver than you over promise and under deliver. It's very much important to take note of that. Then, when it comes to speedy and expedited issue resolution, um, um, it's okay to work speedily or work so fast, but more importantly, it is very much acceptable, or it is rather acceptable to work more accurately than working speedily with so much error and than working accurately even at the approved speed. So you don't need to say, okay, you want to resolve this thing within in less than 24 hours when the standard timeline is 24 hours, only for there to be so much errors. And at the end of the day, before the we get it right, so we've consumed 72 hours instead of the usual 24 hours. If you use the normal speed to work or normal delivery timeline to work, possibly it should have been just that in 24 hours. So it's not about speed, but it's about accuracy and as well as precision. So yes, it's about speed, but it's also about accuracy and precision. Let me put that right. So you have to work speedily, but also with accuracy and precision. Then finally, consistency with service and turnaround time. Consistency with service and turnaround time. Every single customer or customer service rep is expected to be consistent with the turnaround time. So like I just discussed earlier, that it's not like this particular issue took like 24 hours to resolve, and by the time maybe there's a similar issue again, it's taking 72 hours to resolve. Was there any problem? What was the issue? Why is it taking even much longer? Rather, we should be saying from 24 hours, it should be reducing to like 18 hours, thereabouts, then to 12 hours. That's improvement rather than from 24 hours, we're moving to 48 and we're moving to 72. It shouldn't be so. Okay, so that said, I think possibly I have said much within the timeline. Okay, so I would rather say, okay, so at this point, please is there any question that you would like to um is there any question that you would like to drop, or possibly let me just address that before we proceed? If that, I'd just like to take one or two questions, and if not, let me just proceed and we'll take all the questions together. Okay, since there are no questions, let me just go ahead and move on to the next portion of the training, which is on customer service. Remember, what we're considering um, this in this particular training, we're considering the customer, considering customer service. So, and now we are in customer service, right? So, let's begin to talk about that. And in this portion, we're going to be talking about customer service in itself, the mediums, customer satisfaction, and at the end of the day, the satisfaction guideline and the effects that they will have on customers. So practically, as a representative, you need to know what you're doing in an organization in the first instance, which is the customer service. Now, what exactly is customer service? You need to understand that. Now, let me explain it to you. Customer service is just about the process of managing customers' needs, right? By providing a standard and professional service, right, to assisting that customer. That's one. So you're providing standard and professional service while assisting a customer with the product or the services of the organization. That's what customer service is all about. Customer service, I will repeat that again. So customer service practically means, in a nutshell, providing professional service, professional assistance to a customer, which aids them to either use the product or the services of that particular organization, right? That's what customer service is all about. Forget about the big grammars. Of course, with the slides, there's so much, maybe there are a lot of definitions around it, but what customer service practically means is the representative provides a standard and professional assistance to a customer who uses the product or the services of the organization. And more importantly, the essence of that service is to aid their experience, to improve their experience with the brand, right? To make their experience much more satisfactory with the brand. Okay, that's that. So, in essence, customer service is deliberate. So, based on what we've just talked about now, it means that customer service is deliberate because it is planned to achieve goodwill, right? It's planned to achieve goodwill. Why is it planned to achieve goodwill? Because if the customer is satisfied, of course their will towards the brand will be good, will be great, right? Then also the customer service in itself, which is deliberate, plans to achieve brand patronage. As long as customers themselves are happy with the brand, it means there's going to be a continuous patronage, right? That's that. Then there's a repeat purchase from time. So if they patronize for the first time, then there's going to be a repeat purchase. The same people who said the first time I used that particular case, I just do not like what the level of service. I will not use that again. Right? That's what we're talking about. Yes, they patronize, but are they coming back? Right. So this is where customer service person comes into aid or to improve the experience through standard and professional service, right? Aid and improve the experience of customers while using a product or a service. That's why, in order to, by doing this, we improve patronage, we improve repeat purchases. Then we also encourage customers, of course, through in customer service. That's why we can help to cross sell, upsell, right? So increase spending as well, right? If we get acts right, of course, it will increase spending. Non-stop usage of the brand. It's going to also increase brand advocacy because if the customer is practically happy, right, with their patronage of the brand, it means they are going to be an advocate of the brand. If there's a crisis tomorrow with the brand, you have people who are going to come and say, "Oh, maybe somebody is accusing the brand of terrible customer service." Other people who have had good experiences or great experiences with the brand will also come out and testify, "Oh, when I used it, it was not like that." So that's what it is. So, but you can imagine when there's over 50% of the reviews are in the red. So it means there's trouble, there's an issue. So and where the issue lies is with the reps resolving the that's resolving whatever challenges that it is. Of course, when we're talking about issues when it comes to that is customer dissatisfaction, it's not practically about what the reps do, not just 100% about what the reps. Of course, it could be about the product, it could be about the service. So if it's about the product in itself, the of course the customers themselves, the representative, if they receive feedbacks from the customers, they convey to the management, and it sits on the management to make changes, right? So when the management fails to make changes, it is just what customers, the representative can do is to keep managing the customers and managing their experience until those reported changes are effected, right? So if it is on services themselves, not services directly connecting with the representative, but we're talking about services based on the services that the organization provides. So now these services, if they have issues or their feedbacks, they also convey it back to the management, the same way it is for the products. So now, at the end of the day, it all behooves on the management to make those changes, all right? So, but in the instance where those changes are not made, where the representatives come in, it's just to ensure that they manage the experience. So, as you as a representative have to be prepared. So, because not just all feedbacks are implemented immediately, of course, there are process and procedures to implementing changes within organization. And it's not just because you reported it today that it has to be reported, it has to be implemented today. No, there are processes to this. So during that particular time frame, that's where you as a representative come in to manage the situation, manage the experiences of the customer to ensure that it is still at least it's still good, depending on the time when the issues are resolved. But what we're talking about now is not like a prolonged one where where the reports are continuously we are working on it, we're working on it, and we'll keep working on it till the kingdom come. That's not what we're saying here. Then, okay, then I'm going forward, moving away from brand advocacy under customer service itself. So, remember, we're considering customer service, and we're saying that customer service deliberately aims to achieve the list of the things that I've already said. I'll take them again. What customer service deliberately aims to achieve is goodwill, right? The customer's goodwill, brand patronage, repeat purchase, increased spending, non-stop usage of the product or the services of that organization, brand advocacy, which is the last one that I just finished explaining. Then we'll talk about recommendation and referrals. Earlier, I talked about recommendation and referrals, where a satisfied customer does that without even being, sometimes without knowing it, or even without being paid for it. Of course, they're not paid, but they influence their circle of contact, their friends, their families, about to make decisions, purchase decisions about a particular brand or about a particular product. Say, try this, try that. That's more like that influence that we're talking about. So that's what customer service is deliberately planned to achieve. Okay, that said, we spent much time already on this. Let's move to the next slide. Of course, the mediums through which we as representatives would convey or would engage with customers, of course, could be in person, which is one. Now, we're considering the mediums here. So the mediums where this customer service could be is practically delivered from is delivered through is in person. So customers can walk into the organizations and we attend to them in person, resolve the issues that they require. Then we talk about chats. It could be via live chats. Like we have different chats and mediums today where we could chat through with customers themselves and resolve whatever issues that they have emails which have been in existence for a very long time now. Then there are phone calls, telephone calls, where calls come in, and we provide excellent customer service, professional assistance. Then through social media as well, where people go out to call out a particular brand because they want their attention. Take for instance, there are a lot of people always say, "Of course, I don't want to join the queue. I want this issue resolved within a record time." They just go ahead on social media to call out or to tag the brand so they can quickly respond or resolve whatever issues there is. Okay, so now these are the various mediums which we should anticipate to use with regards to customer service: in-person chats, emails, calls, and social media. Right. That said, let's move on to talk about customer service. So with customer service comes customer satisfaction, right? So if the customer service is great, the customer is satisfied. If customer service is below average, then the customer is dissatisfied. So now, when do we say that the customer is satisfied, right? This brings us to the issue or to the subject of customer satisfaction. Now, customer satisfaction is the adequate fulfillment of the customer's need, the promise, or the adequate fulfillment of the promise that a brand has made, or the adequate fulfillment of a customer's desire, what a customer wants, right? This is what brings about customer satisfaction. So if we as an organization fulfills a customer's need, or we keep to our promise, the brand promise, or we are able to deliver on the desire of a particular customer. Of course, because the desire of each of the customers are unique. So if we're able to reach out and if we're able to connect and deliver the desires of each of the customers, so that brings about the fulfillment that we're talking about. So that customer satisfaction is practically the fulfillment derived from meeting the customer's need, keeping to promises, and as well as fulfilling the customer's desire. So it's just a pleasure or gratification that they derive from that fulfillment. So in a nutshell, right, if we summarize customer satisfaction, it measures or it determines how happy the customer is with the product or with the services of the organization. So that's what customer satisfaction does. It's a measurement of how happy customers are with the organization. They are happy because we're able to keep to our promise, we're able to deliver, we're able to deliver on the customers' need, we're able to deliver on their desire as well. So, okay, that said, you can go ahead to discuss about the guide to ensure that we meet consistently or we keep consistently meeting the satisfaction score of the organization with regards to customer service. Of course, when it comes to that, one on the list is treating customers' request with respect and resolving their issues in time. We've talked about treating the customers' request with respect. Now, when it comes to treating customers' request with respect, what do we mean by that? I will retreat. We've talked about that earlier, but I'm going to retreat on it from a different perspective this time around. So now, if for every single, let's take for instance, this is a working customer, and I'm having a conversation with such customer. Now, I'm expected to give them my attention, not like okay, I'm just grossed into the system. I'm working on the system while they are trying to have a conversation with me. So if I'm having a conversation that I'm discussing, I'm not just going to be passing off an information that is a non-verbal cue to the customer, like saying, "Just keep talking. I'm listening with my ears and not with my mouth, or not with my eyes. So just say whatever you have to say. I'm listening while I'm also working, right? Well, I'm also doing something else. So I need to give them the attention that they require. That's why there's always a turnaround time, right? For most organizations, there's turnaround time 5 minutes and above. So within that 5 minutes, if I'm going to address the customer, if I have allotted 5 minutes to that particular customer, then I should be able to resolve whatever issues there is within that 5 minutes. If I'm unable to resolve it within that 5 minutes, then I probably would escalate to whoever, possibly if I will need additional support, possibly from my supervisor, then I need to alert my supervisor about the higher support that I would need. Possibly I require certain clearance or certain access or classified information or access level. Then maybe I need to pass off that information or pass off that request to the next person in the chain of command. Okay, that said, resolving issues within the time frame, I've also talked about that, but very much important with regards to satisfaction. When we are as representatives, we're able to keep to resolution timeline, right? If the resolution timeline is 5 minutes, just know that once you walk in, it's 5 minutes. A popular brand that has become so that of course it's a global brand like the McDonald's. When we talk about the fries, where we just walk in, we ensure that okay, that this particular thing, of course, when we the franchise here across that's on this side of the continent, where we have the products already prepared. So you just walk in, you know that okay, in less than 5 minutes, you're going to be attended to, and you just walk away. That's one of the legacies which they that they have established for themselves. In less than 5 minutes, you're attended to. So except for of course, there are places where there are some places where issues around could make cause some delays. But when the standard is 5 minutes, you just know that you're walking into this particular place, and in 5 minutes you are attended to and you walk away. So you just know that in 5 minutes your order is done and delivered. That's what it is. So that has to be there's consistency. So as representative, your duty is to ensure that that resolution timeline that has been set by the organization, you have to be consistent with it. Just like us, within the resolution timeline, 24 hours for the issues. Of course, but they have practically different issues, and there's a resolution timeline for each of the issues we have with us. So you're expected to work within that particular issue resolution timeline and deliver on that. Of course, when we talk about the customer satisfaction score, if the issues are delivered, yes, they might be resolved. Take, for instance, issues is supposed to be resolved within 24 hours. Even though they might be resolved, but they are resolved within 72 hours, that's a red flag, right? That's not showing the level of expertise and professionalism that is required of you as a staff. Of course, it's going to impact your KPI. You don't want that to impact it negatively. You want to do things that will impact our KPI positively. So now, if we are going to handle issues with resolving customer complaints, it means that we should be able to beat beat the timeline. If it is 24 hours, let it be 24 hours max, and or something below 24 hours. That's it. As long as it is accurate, it is precise, and also within the timeline. That's how it ought to be. And if it is within 3 hours, within 6 hours, within 1 hour, within 5 minutes, just stay within the particular timeline for that particular for the specified or the specific issue to be resolved. Then second on the list is requesting feedbacks. Now, to ensure that we are keeping to satisfaction, it's imperative that we get feedbacks, right? We want to understand how customers feel or how they and some of these feedbacks, of course, they come through surveys. They might be implemented through you as representative, or sometimes it's implemented through the supervisors. So now, if it's not implemented through if it's through your supervisors, where of course surveys are sent out to the customers for them to be able to share their experience. This time around, most of the now use technology to drive feedback. For us here, we use technology to drive the feedback gathering, where the customers themselves or those who have used the product and the services of the organization share their experiences directly. So they could rate a customer's experience, they could rate a representative. There's a level of service that they got from a particular representative. So they could rate it. Of course, it's a rating of 1 to 5. Of course, so if and in the, of course, where 1 is poor and 5 is excellent. So at the end of the day, you want the customer to give you a good rating. So remember that there's going to be a feedback gathering, and while you are at it, that we've talked earlier about when it comes to satisfying the satisfaction of a customer, listening and understanding the customer's need is very much important. Now we listen to understand, right? We're not just listening to respond. That's very much important as representative. We're listening to understand and not listening to respond. So this gives us a better approach to customer service. Then finally, remember that when it comes to customer satisfaction, educating the customer and assisting them through issue resolution pathway is very much important. Now, when we talk about educating customers, of course, we know that customers themselves are individuals. They are people, and when we mean people and individuals here, what do we mean? We mean that as individuals, we have a capacity to learn, to assimilate easily, or to find a way around something. Some people are very smart with finding their ways around something. So, as a representative, we have this mindset needs to be very clear, which it should be at the back of our mind that not everyone is able to find their way around some certain things, certain issues so fast. And so for some people, it needs to be repeated over and over again. So that kind of or that behavior or that look of how many times do I have to explain this or that a feeling of disgust should in no way find itself near any representative. In fact, their ability to come to us to resolve their issues practically means that we are serving them better. That we're also going to remain in business, right? So because if everyone should be very much like should be genius and they could just resolve their issues by themselves, then there will be no issues to resolve as representative, and our places will definitely not be there in the first instance, right? So because the customer needs to be educated, needs to be guided, needs to be assisted through resolution pathway or through, in fact, through the entire service chain on its own, it means that of course we have our jobs, and it means that we mean that we can work and we can continue working. I think that communication is very clear, and we should be able to get what I mean there. Very much important. So our place is secure, of course, when we know that we are there to educate customers, we are there to guide them, and each individual has their speed with learning, speed with of course their degree to smartness and the rest of that. So at the end of the day, we know that the key things like here, I'm going to take them. The three key things I've just talked about here is about treating customers' requests with respect and resolution and resolving their complaints. So even if we're treating their requests, we need to ensure that we follow it to the end, which is resolution. Then secondly, we talked about feedbacks. We need to know that feedbacks are going to be gathered. So at the end of the day, let's be careful about our relationship or whatever it is that we how we handle um, handle customer needs and issues. Then thirdly, we talked about educating customers for to use a particular product or service of the organization. Now, the effect when we are able to satisfy a customer, let's consider what effects will it have on the customer. So if we provide excellent service to customers, it means one of the key things that we're going to be that would be paramount is the customer's loyalty. It is non-negotiable. Where a customer feels satisfied, where a customer feels valued, feels they get more value for money, feels that their service or their feels like family with the brand, it means there's going to be loyalty. They don't need to look elsewhere, right? So the loyalty is practically 100%. So we get their loyalty when they are satisfied. So when customers are unsatisfied, it means all we'll have are just chunks of disloyal customers, and they can leave any day and at any time. So we don't want that, because when customers leave, it means that practically as representative we are losing relevance. That is what it means. That's what the hard truth is all about. Then secondly on the list is goodwill. I made mention of that earlier, so I'm not going to be speaking so much on it again. Repeat patronage. We've talked about this, the third one. So I said loyalty, customer loyalty is one of the effects of their satisfaction. Goodwill is another effect. Brand patronage or repeat patronage is also another one. Then increased spending. Remember, if they are satisfied, of course, we can cross sell and upsell as well. So that's another one. Non-stop usage is another one. Then we'll go ahead to talk about recommendation and referrals, where satisfied customer influence their circle of contact. Then finally on the list, talk about brand advocacy, where there are issues or crisis about the product or the service, or where someone else or an adversary decides to drag the brand or decides to tarnish the image of the brand. We'll have customers who have used the product in the past that can advocate and to give their own side of the story with regards to that brand. I understand that each individual has their own experience, but at the end of the day, when there are negative reviews, of course, the positive one comes in and counters the entire thing. Okay, so that said, I think that brings us to a summary on the basic things that we want to discuss on customer service. So thus far, we've handled two key areas in this section of the training. Remember, we talked about the customer. We've just concluded about the customer service. And in this third one, I want us to just quickly go ahead and talk about customers' expectation. Because if we're going to provide excellent service, if we're going to be excellent delivery service representatives, it means we first of all need to understand the customer. We need to understand what customer service is all about. Then we need to go ahead and understand what customers' expectations are. then we can be able to deliver service. If we don't understand what their expectations are, we may not be able to might not be able to find our way around delivering excellent customer service. Okay, and in this part, which is the part 3, we're going to be talking about customers' expectation. Then understanding, how do we understand the expectation, right? Then at the end of the day, feedback. Let's understand what feedbacks and or compare between feedbacks and complaints. So we basically know what feedback. How do we differentiate between feedbacks and complaints from a customer? Okay, that said, let me go straight into customers' expectation. What do we say is a customer's expectation? Of course, they are what the customers expect with regards to their interaction and their and a completed discussion with regards to service level. So, take for instance now, if a salesperson walks up to a customer and tells them, "Oh, our company provides XYZ services within 24 hours." Now, if I get attracted to the brand and I decide to decide to patronize the brand, it means now, based on what the salesperson have explained to me, I know, okay, this is what I should be getting, right, and within this particular time frame, I should get that. These are my expectations. So that's what forms a customer's expectation, and it should not fall short of it. So if I'm told that I'm going to get XYZ, I shouldn't get just X, and I shouldn't get XY. I should just get XYZ, same way it is. And better still, if there is XYZZ, then it's even much better if I get XYZZ, right? So, but it's more importantly that I get the XYZ first that has been promised. Then at the end of the day, within the timeline. So if I was told that it's going to be delivered within 24 hours, then let it be within 24 hours. Nothing short of, in fact, nothing more practically of 24 hours. It's even better if it is short of 24 hours. If I was told 24 hours and I get it within 18 hours, then that's better. If I was told 24 and I get it in 12, that's better. Okay, so in explaining that, or in summary of that, we'll just say that based on whatever it is that the customer was promised, the customer's expectation is built around the promise that the brand offers to the customers themselves. So whatever was promised forms the expectation of the customer. That's just what customers' expectations are. So if I reframe this again, I'll say that customers' expectation is just what they look forward to encounter in relation to the service or the product of the cost of the company or of the brand. So that's just what it is. What the customer is looking forward to encounter, which is more like is an addition to what I just said earlier. What the customer looks to encounter, and the encounter is based on the promise that the brand has made. That's that. Okay, let's go ahead to talk about how then, because for each customer, remember that customers themselves are individuals, and because they are individuals, they are people themselves, so they have expectations vary. Now, it's very much important for us to also buttress here that because customers are people and people have perspectives. So let's say, as a sales representative, A was said, I said A, B, C, or X, Y, Z to a customer. But remember, we were talking about perception and how people understand things and the rest of that. Take, for instance, that the customer may have maybe, I said X, Y, Z, but the customer now understands A, B, C, X, Y, Z, right? Or ABC, or the customer actually, I said X, Y, Z, but the customer had A to Z. So these are also some of the issues that are there, but it's more important. Of course, there's a documentation. If there's going to be, there's always possibly there are flyers and there are product brochures. That's why you have a documented products or services that is documented list of services or product, and also the description of product or services that are there. So now, dealing with customers that are like that, of course, they are unique. In such instances, they are guided properly, they are guided right to redirect their expectation or to reframe their expectation so that it is the right and aligns with what the organization offers or promises to offer to its customers. That's exactly what it is. Remember, I just made mention to all this. Now, how do we even understand their expectations in the first instance? Take, for instance, we'll have someone after the sales team has gone out to push through, and at the end of the day, possibly we have customers, maybe they decide to now walk into the organization to see for themselves, or approaching the salesperson who or the relationship officer who has reached out to them, of course they meet with us, the representative. So now the representative, now you as a representative, how do you understand? How do you get to understand the promise or the conversation that has transpired when you were not there? One of them is going to be what active listening, like we've been discussing earlier. So through active listening, I'll take these are key three things that can be used to deduce or to understand a customer's expectation very well. Now, one of them is active listening. Second on the list is questioning. Then third is attention to details. No, now by active listening, we can understand. When we mean active listening here, we're paying attention to nonverbal cues as well, uh, uh, based on what the customer is saying. That is what the customer is saying and what they are not also saying at the same. So they're not possibly they're not revealing 100% of the conversation. Sometimes they want to say it in such a way that it favors them. Take for instance, let's say the the brand offers that XYZ services is delivered within 5 working days. And if the customer walks in, okay, I was told the customer, sometimes they say things, they just want to either gaslight or just want to say things to see, to also get a reaffirmation. So, as a representative, you need to be very smart and understand that level of conversation as well. So, when the person walks in and say, okay, I heard that people do this within 2 working days. So it's not like, where did you hear that one from? So that's not how to respond to such. It's okay. So may I know how you came about this information, so they can go ahead and tell you more about that. So that's questioning, right? That I just used right there. So, but there's where I'm going to pass off the questioning that it looks rude or it looks like, oh, like from where did you get this information and the rest of that. So, of course, they can withhold further information or further details by that. So now, but while they are providing those feedbacks, I need to do what? Attention to details. That's what we're saying. So these three key things would help you to deduce or to understand the customer very well. So while doing that, you can help them set their priorities right, or set not just their priorities. I mean, to set their expectations right. So through active listening, polite questioning, and attention to details, these key things would help us understand the customer's expectation. So we'll know if possibly maybe they have a different thing that um, they have framed up in their mind from what was promised or from the brand promise itself. Okay, now still on customers' expectations, right? So we're going to be talking about feedback. Now, um, I'm just going to comment now. How do feedback comes into customers' expectation, right? So when customers feel dissatisfied, feel undeserved, or feel when customers feel dissatisfied, underserved, undervalued, or just the different types of negative emotions that they may feel with regards to their patronage to the brand. Of course, one of the major things that they do is they complain, right? They complain. So that's why we're considering feedbacks and we're considering complaints. So now, when it comes to feedback, of course, when customers also observe things or ways with which they feel that they can be better served, so what they do is that they provide feedbacks. So that's the difference here: the feedback and the complaint. The complaint stems from on the service, comes from dissatisfaction. So this comes from negative emotions. So, but the feedback come from a place of possibly optimism and opinions about how processes can be improved, about how better innovations can help them get better services from the brand or from the organization. So these are the two major differences. So now let us consider some more details about feedbacks, customer feedbacks, and customer complaints. So the other this would help us understand better as well. So like I just gave in a nutshell what the customer feedbacks look like and the customer's complaint looks like. So under feedbacks, of course, customers will always provide honest opinion, and that opinion is designed around but of course, it's honest, yes, but not entirely selfish because even though it helps them get better services, but it also helps the organization improve on the quality or the level of its excellence, right? So that's what. So it's a two-way thing. That's why we're not saying it's like a selfish one, because it does not only serve them, but it also serves the organization in improving their ranking, improving their service excellence, and as well as improving their outlook as a brand. Then, of course, secondly on the list, it gives suggestion on specific concerns. Like I made mention in the entry session, that's in the entry of this training, about certain research I was conducting prior yesterday, and I had to speak to a business executive with regards to um, my findings or my concerns about their own level of, or about their service, about their own level of service. So, and it was welcomed, and they opted to do something about that. That's a specific concern that I noticed about their service center, and I think okay, it should what should be done. I gave a recommendation, and they bought into it. Of course, it was practically free, which if they had consulted, and they would definitely be making payments for that. Okay, then now we'll still talk about feedbacks. Of course, feedbacks are also critical assessments on an activity, practically, of an activity, a process, or a result. So now, take for instance, as a representative, we provide service to the customer, and the customer is giving a feedback. Oh, I think you're very slow with the way you are handling this request, right? That's a feedback. That's not a complaint. They're giving you a feedback that I think you're very slow. I think you're not doing this thing fast. So it's not for you to pick offense. Why, like, okay, can you like you have a lot of people who are called uncultured, possibly maybe if you experience people where you give feedback and they get angry, say, "Hey, come and do it yourself," something like that. So that's not going to be your response. So because it's a feedback, if you're told that you're slow, how many people have told you that you are slow on with regards to providing a particular service? So now, as a representative, if over 25 people out of 100 have told you, out of 100 requests that you processed, in-person requests, people working, out of 25 people on a regular tells you this, that's 25% for crying out loud, and it's too much. So it's a red flag, and we should of course it requires attention. So now it's coming to you, and because it's coming to you, you should appreciate it as a representative, take it into consideration, and make good use of it. Now, make good use of it. What does it mean? If you're going to take classes, if you're going to take courses, if you're going to whatever it is that you require for personal improvement, do that. Don't, not until you get a memo, not until you get a memo from your supervisor, or you get some feedbacks from your KPIs, performance that's performance feedback from your KPI. That's, you don't want that yet, because that's going to be documented and your files are going to be copied. You don't want such situations. You don't want it to get to that level. So at that particular stage, because it's coming to you directly, that's the opportunity to make what improvement, improve on it. If you're doing excellently well, by the time you're done assisting or providing an assistance to a customer, what you get is thank you so much. I'm so happy about that. And oftentimes, if you possibly maybe you might also have experience, or you might also have had certain experiences where if you visit certain branches of maybe let's say you visit certain branches for a particular product or a service, there's this representative that you want, your preferred person that you want to always to attend to you, and sometimes they are attached to, because of they are attached to efficiency. That preference is always based on efficiency. So, okay, or based on not when we're talking about efficiency, we're also talking about relationship, customer relations, how they relate, how that representative relates with customers. Um, Take for instance, if you walk into a branch and you have a smiling person, someone who is welcoming, who is forthcoming, and you have someone who is always frowning, someone who is only willing to attend or willing to work or willing to serve customers. Where you see much of the queue, people will always want to be attended to by the person who is forthcoming, who is welcoming, right? And everyone is just trying to stay away from the other particular one who has the negative energy. So that said, what does it practically imply? It means that it's just going to be a matter of time. The representative with the negative energy will just have to leave the organization, because the action is not going to. They are not paying you there. They are not paying you just to come and sit and warm the chair. No, and they are not paying you in order to overburden the one who is forthcoming. So if the supervisor is seeing this, of course, that's where you get memos. Because if why are the queue why is everyone queuing in this particular person that's just to be served by a particular representative? What happens to the representative? Something is wrong. So by the time investigations are conducted and it falls on the behaviors, it falls on the character of that representative, then there's an issue. That's where memos start flying around. We don't want to get to that particular stage. Okay, that said, let's quickly go ahead to the next one. Preventing, of course, preventing product crisis or brand crisis. We've already talked about that earlier. So what feedbacks will always do are these things that we just mentioned now, and I think it's very much clear now what feedback does. That's about customers' feedback. Now let's quickly consider the complaints so we can end of this particular session. So what the customer complaints now? Remember we talked about that complaint. The customer complaint stems from the place of dissatisfaction. The customers themselves are dissatisfied in the first instance. That's why they are complaining. Then we'll talk about that the complaint is an expression of pain, a dissatisfaction on a specific concern, an expression of resenting feelings. Then also it stems from unresolved grievance. So these are what the characteristics of customer complaints, because it's coming from a place of dissatisfaction of a specific concern. We reported this complaint. It's still just like that. People are not making improvements, or the representative is not improving on it. So it becomes a complaint. Then talking about a feeling of resentment, of course, it begins to grow into a resenting feeling. Of course, that's what leads to people trying to walk away from a particular representative. And everybody wants to be attended to by a different representative, away from the one who is unwelcoming and unwilling to serve the customers. Okay, that brings us to a summary on this one. So that said, we've considered the customer. Now we've also considered customer service, and we've just concluded customer expectation. Right? These are the key three things that we've just considered thus far. And we are running so much out of time. I want us to just quickly progress to the fourth one, so which is on service delivery. So now let's quickly consider service delivery. We barely have a few minutes to round that up. So now, service delivery is practically an act of providing value through that is true service to a customer. So now, considering it as from the perspective of a representative. So now, what exactly do we say is service delivery as a representative? Now, you as a representative, you have been employed by the organization to, or you'll be employed by the organization to provide service, provide value. Sorry, provide value through service, or provide value in service to the customer. So what you're doing is that you're providing value. What value are you providing? That's assistance. So it's valuable. The assistance that you provide, that professional assistance, it's valuable to the customer, because why? It saves them time. It saves them the headache of trying to navigate or resolve the issues with regards to a particular product or a service. So that's just what we were saying here. Service delivery with regards to you as a representative is just you providing valuable assistance to the customer. So that's where service delivery comes in as that's with regards to a customer service representative. So now, in providing services, there are two key things that will happen to a customer. So it's either the customer stays or the customer walks away. Remember that we just concluded from the customer's expectation. We just talked about we just had to comparison about a welcoming and a non-welcoming representative. A welcoming representative versus a non-welcoming representative. When we a customer walk away from a representative in the first instance, oftentimes there are a lot of issues around this that we just talked about. Maybe character issues, character flaws, frustrating processes. More like, okay, you have to. I'm just trying to. Okay, I'm giving them one at a time, so you can just list them out, which is character issues or character flaws from the service representative. Then rigorous frustrating processes. Why? Okay, you tell the customer, okay, you go to the first floor. When you're done for the first floor, go to the second floor. Locate this desk. Locate the other one. When you're done with that particular person, go to, like, it is just why all this, right? Every single person that if you put yourself in their shoes, you just don't want to go through that. So it's best how the customer can be served. If it requires a process review, why not suggest that to your supervisors? Possibly maybe if the process in itself is rigorous for the customers. That's why you are there as a representative, to provide feedback to your supervisor so that these people can be properly managed. Okay, of course, the customers do not want to be taken for granted. That feeling of being taken for granted, this is what makes customers walk away, more importantly, from the service representative, and they just want to walk, they just want to be attended to by a different representative. Another one is unmet expectations or unmet needs. Why if the customer provides or comes to be attended to, and they feel underserved, undersatisfied with a particular with a particular representative, or based on the service they have received through a representative, then it means they are going to be walking away. They're going to be reaching out to someone who is very much welcome, who they feel they will give them the actual who will give them the actual level of service or satisfaction that they require to get the issues resolved. Okay, now, then generally, based as a representative, these are some feedbacks that we could give with regards of some things that we can review with regards to the model we work with, which is based on the mode of communications with customer, the engagement, and as well as the how we get feedbacks from the customers themselves. Okay, still on that, which so we're still on that. I want us to talk more on hold on service why customers walk away. I think there are just some key things I just want us to point out on before we finally move to service delivery excellence. So now, in communication and presentation, as representative, very much important that we pay close attention to our presentation. How do we present ourselves, or how presentable are we before customers? Remember, as a representative, we are the face of the brand, right? At the face of the organization, the first point of contact with which before customers can begin to reach out to other arms of the organization. So we need to be on top of our game. Our way, our mode of communications, we should be able to communicate very well. Remember, when we talk about communication here, we're not just talking about speaking good English. Yes, you can. Ability to speak well is great, but the ability to communicate, because you might have just spoken a whole lot of, let's say you've even spoken 1,000 words, yet no communication has been made. It is very much possible, because if the customer is not communicating, if you're not communicating with the customer, you're not there's if there are no solution passed. In fact, nobody just wants to listen. So the communication can only be said when the other party understands what you're saying. So if there's a lot of grammar that is just flying here and there, and the customer is unlearned enough to understand what you're saying, there's no communication taking place, right? Until that customer understands what you're saying, then we can be able to say that communication is practically taking place. Then we'll go ahead to talk about personal hygiene. Of course, in the place or in the space where we work, the documents are not supposed to be flying around, right? So we are not supposed to display sensitive information around or classified information around. Of course, the space is always supposed to be very clean and kept. As a representative, you also that's one of the major things you do. Of course, it's not for you to keep the area clean, but it's your duty to ensure that the cleaners also on top of their game, because that's your space, and customers already are also within that particular space. So you don't want customers to work in on it. Then at the end of the day, we've talked about exciting and welcoming frontline representatives. So very much important. This we have said. Now, I want us to now quickly summarize and go on to that's quickly summarized by understanding what excellence means now in that service excellence means. Because we just talked about service delivery, we talked about customer. The customer, that's the customer. We talked about customer service, customer expectation, service delivery. I want us to now talk about customer as excellent service or service excellence. Now, excellent service is just meeting and surpassing the customer's expectation. That's just what excellent service means, meeting and surpassing expectation. So now, for every customer, if we when we talked about customer expectations, we that's in the third one, the third one that we considered, where we talked about the customer's expectation and how we can be able to navigate or work our way around a customer's expectation. So now, how do we now ensure that we meet and surpass that expectation? Because we need to understand it first. We've already considered about how we can understand it. So now that we have understood the customer's expectation, understood service delivery, so it's about now the excellence in service itself. So and to deliver excellent service practically means, in a nutshell again, meeting and surpassing that expectation of the customer that we have discovered, right? So that's in a nutshell. Sorry, I'm speeding up much faster because the time for the session is almost elapsing. Okay, so now evidence of excellent service, or evidence of that a service is excellent or a representative is providing an excellent service. One of them is that the representative is friendly. Representative is friendly. There's friendliness in the atmosphere, right? You're welcoming, you are friendly, and at the end of the day, every customer wants to come around you. That's that. So, but sometimes there's this thing that plays out in the mind of the representative, that where we believe, where, because if we become friendly, all customers want you to attend to them, and by that they load you with all so much work. So if they run away, take for instance, just the only representative. You don't have a second someone to share the responsibility with you. Now, if you're just going to be the one manning that desk, so if you want the customers to walk away because, or to so not to lad you with so much responsibility. Remember that the customers themselves, that customers come themselves, it's actually profitability for the organization. And by profitability, it means that your job is secure. So if they're not customers, what are you doing there? In fact, there will be no need for a representative in the first instance. So the more we have customers themselves, the more needs that we meet for the customers, the more relevant our roles become in the organization, right? So that's then we'll go ahead to talk about creativity with service delivery. So while we're providing service, we are creative, right? It's not that we're just redundant, or we are just being robots based on the standard that has been set to just following the script, and that's just what it is. In a place where we have to think outside of the box, innovate, provide excellent service, or provide a solution to a particular challenge, then it's very much welcome. Then we'll go ahead to talk about process improvement. These are evidences that a service is excellent. The processes keep improving, it keeps getting better, better and better. If as a customer I've been with the brand for 2 months, for 2 years now, I could be able to say, okay, at first this was how they provided their service. Oh, it's getting better, right? It's getting better, it gets better, and it keeps getting better. Then that's what makes the services provided by the brand excellent in the first instance. Emotional connection. Of course, where customers are happy, they identify with the brand, they see themselves as part of the family, or part of the brand family, or part and parcel of the organization. So it means that at the end of the day, as representative, we see customers, or every single thing that we do, we are customer centric, right? As representative, we understand that the customer is the reason why we are here. So without the customer, we have no place here in the first instance. So it means that, in a nutshell, I'll take these 6 points again, that the evidence of excellent service is customer centric, right? That whatever we are doing, everything we our thoughts, whatever we are doing, we are putting the customers first. We understand that the customer is the reason why we are here. That's the reason why we have a job in the first instance as representatives. Then we ought to be friendliness, creativity. Third, fourthly, we talk about perfection. We're trying to perfect and improve. That's we're perfecting our ways. We're talking about perfection here. We're just saying that when we started off as representative, of course, we have some flaws. But if we've been on this job for the past 3 months, for the past 6 months, this is what we're just doing repeatedly every day. So we should get better at it, right? That's what it is. Becoming more perfect with what we do. Then process improvement, improvement of processes. They are different. It's different from the one of perfection. The process through which we provide this customer service. Now, that of course, where we find hitches, or the places where we think that should be improved on, we recommend such improvements to the organization. Then finally, emotional connection. These 6 key things ensure, or are evidences that customer service is getting better and is excellent. Then, of course, with this, it depicts that for every customer or for the organization themselves, or if we're going to rephrase all that we have said as an organization, we need to ensure that that there's as a representative, we are customer centric, we are friendly, we're creative, we strive towards perfection, then we improve processes, then finally we do our emotional connection. Now let's talk about our persona, right? This brings us to the final ending part of the that's the ending part of this training, which is about our person. So now, as a representative, these are some key things that we need to talk, because this forms part of our excellence, right? So the services are excellent. Everything that we do, of course, we're not excluding ourselves and our conduct, our character. We're not excluding that. So that's what let's just consider. What things can we do that either mar the excellent service that we're trying to provide, or that will, in one way or the other, sabotage the efforts that we are putting in place to ensure that the service is excellent and the person starts. Now, appropriate dress sense is very much important. We need to have a good dress sense in relation to the work we do, right? Then, secondly on the list is no eating, no snacking, no chewing of gum while in work, while at work, while in service. So it's uncultured to eat right in front of a customer, or to be snacking right in front of a customer, or chewing gum right in front of a customer. So that's unprofessional in the first instance, and it's a no-no. Then office gossip and slandering. So this should be far away from you. People leaving their desk to either come and gist with you while you are attending to customers, or you're engaging in conversation. Take for instance, you're up to 3 or 4 representatives and you're busy gisting about someone else or slandering somebody else. Someone is slandering somebody amongst that's the group of people here there. So you can imagine, so such should not even be happening in the first instance, because there are people external there's external people who are there and they are not within the organization, so they shouldn't be about the business of the organization. Now another one is customers, people that's a representative engaging in tarnishing the image or speaking ill about a particular customer. So on no circumstance should it even happen in the first instance that a representative will pick up a customer and begin to slander that customer. It should not even happen in the first instance, right? That's particularly wrong and unethical to take place in the first instance. Then fourth on the list is walking around endlessly. So there should not be walking around endlessly where you're running to a photocopy, you're running to this particular place, you're going to go and get stationery before you resume for the day. Every single thing that we require should be in place. You should have checked everything. It should be in place. You're not going here to go and file. You're not going there to go and look for stapler. You're not good like as though there's some level of uncoordination. It shouldn't even happen in the first instance. Screaming and shouting, calling out. Maybe you just want to you're trying to reach out there, shout. There's noisy. That the environment becomes noisy. These things should not. Of course, this are more like we're trying to build a very great persona for ourselves as representatives. Then finally, when we have to discuss with the customer, we talked about this earlier. When we have to engage in conversation, we need to pay close attention. Look at the person you're just having a conversation with, and not be glued to the screen while you are trying to attend to them. Okay, that's I think all this we have said, we've said so much, or we've said so much practically, and it brings us to the end of this session. So we've said a lot already, and at this time, I want us to begin to take questions. So I'm going to just bring out a few minutes to take questions so we can end this session. Please go ahead and ask your questions. I'll just take just 2 questions. Um, Go ahead. I have in the next. Go ahead and ask your question. Just type it out in the chat. I'm going to read it and take that. I think I have 2 minutes left. Without any question, we'd have to bring this session to a close because I'll be taking on the other classes. There's the upcoming class um, in the next 10 minutes. Okay, I think there are no questions. Please let's just come. Okay, someone says they have a question. Okay, Now, questions that we have are in relation to the what has been taught. Okay, now someone is just asking about the material. Okay, there's no approval to share the material thus far. So all that the approval that we have thus far is about delivering this training. But when it comes to the material, there is no approval to disseminate the material. So we expected that you should have taken notes while the training is ongoing. Okay, I think any other question, any other question, any other question, because I need to stop this session so we can just go ahead and take the other refresher course again. Okay, I think that's it because we barely have any other time. So I'll just be ending this session right now, and I believe the the learning assessments, the knowledge assessment link also we dropped in the group again, possibly later today, so that everyone who are able to participate should be able to go ahead and take their learning assessment so we can proceed to the next stage. Okay, that said, brings us to the end of this session. Please and thank you so much for your time, and we'll come to a close on this. Okay.